Guys, a couple of days ago, I did a video on Bitcoin talking about how if we could possibly break back up to this area around 19,500 within the next few days, and let's go ahead and put a date on that. Let's say by Tuesday, that we would have a chance to recover from this, and this would be actually part of a accumulation process, and this could play out as a spring in the Wyckoff theory. But let's be realistic about this and everything that's going on, because the pattern that we got here is a bearish pattern. And so there's a chance that, well, that may not happen. So let's look at the scenario of how this may play out if we do not get the bounce back up and break back into this pattern. And the reason that I think that it's so important for us to do that is because we've still got this red dot here on Market Cipher on the weekly, pointing us toward the downside. RSI has come back down to around 31 for the weekly, and our MACD is starting to decline on us on the weekly. So the weekly is really looking bearish, and it points to more downside. My Ichimoku cloud's starting to trickle down a little bit. This has got my ears perked up that we may not get that Wyckoff spring. This may be leading us down to lower prices, and that's a possibility that we need to seriously look at today. Road Dog Crypto. Welcome back to Road Dog Crypto. My name is Lane, your crypto road dog, trying to help you make sense of this crazy world that we call crypto. There's a bullish scenario that we can be looking out for, but we've also got to keep our eyes open for what may happen if it goes bearish. Now, at the moment, I got the weekly up and I got the Heikin Ashi candles back on. And right now, according to this, we are back into the pattern. Our candle body is showing us back into this pattern, but on the regular candles, we clearly are not. We're clearly below this. But if we can maintain to get back in this pattern, we got a fighting chance to come back to the upside, and this may actually be part of the bottom. However, what I really want to look at is the pattern that we're in now, and you can see it on the daily. This is a bear flag, okay? And it's got me a little concerned, but we've also got this big trend line. Let's jump back to the weekly so we can see this easier here, because this could be a scenario that's playing out. Falling wedge, breakout, didn't really have the volume to take us up to where we wanted, and then of course we had our crash. Now, one thing about this pattern is that it has a tendency to come back and retest either the exit point, which we did that, but it can also comes back to retest this trend line. So we could actually retrace this all the way back down here to the bottom areas, and we're talking about 14,500 before we officially get a bounce off of that trend line. That's a scenario. That's a possibility that could very well be playing out. And if we blow this up, the wick that we had that came down all the way to 15,608, I mean, it almost made it there. Didn't quite make a touch to the line that I have here, but there's a little give and take on your lines as far as being accurate, right, with such a big move. So there's a possibility that was close enough to do it for us, but there's also the possibility that we may come down here and actually make a candle body around this area, around 15,000. Just keeping it real with you, it could happen.
I don't always like videos, but when I do, I always prefer Road Dog Crypto. Trade wisely, my friends.
Let me come down to a smaller time frame. Let's go with, say, the 6 hour. We can kind of see the pattern pretty clearly here, I believe. So what we got is basically a symmetrical triangle. Now, those by themselves are not a favorite pattern of mine, because you can easily see them break out to the upside and then come back to the downside, and they end up going sideways. They can break out to the downside and come back to the upside. They just kind of don't know what they want to do. So they can kind of go sideways and crazy, basically. However, the interesting thing about this particular symmetrical triangle is that it also has a flagpole. That's concerning to me, because we could actually have a measured move that takes us down. And let me get my measurements right here. From the wick there to where this one started to fall, which is right here at this trend line, that measured move can take us all the way back down to this weekly support area, about $11,634. That is a very real possibility. Now, for it to do that, it's got to break through this trend line here. So here's a couple of areas that I would be seeing some resistance. You would see some resistance right here around 15,725. Let me go ahead and mark that area. Right here around $14,454, somewhere in that area. You can see some resistance here at 13,704. And then finally, we do have that weekly support, which we would hope and pray if we ever come down this way that would hold for us. So I want to take a few moments just to leave these up there. 13,704, 14,454. 15,692 as possible targets that you can use in your strategy, whether you decide to short this and use those as take profits, or whether you're using a dollar cost average strategy and buying in at those areas, or these are just places where we're likely to get a hiccup if we start coming down to the downside. Now, one other thing that we can do is also take a Fibonacci from that top of that leg down to the bottom there. And I prefer to go to the wicks on this. And you can see the areas of confluence that we may have here. And that brings us down to about $12,106 if we put the Fibonacci on there, which is right around to our weekly support there. So at best, we're really getting some conflicting signals here as far as Bitcoin goes, so it's really hard to see what's going to happen. On the weekends, there's just a lack of liquidity, but my question is now, since we got Bitcoin down so low, you would think that there would be a lot of buyers here to push the price up some, but instead, all we've been doing is trading sideways. And I've got the 1 hour chart up here. When I first charted this bear flag, I had it right here, and that was a symmetrical triangle. And of course, what do we talk about symmetrical triangles? What happens? Breaks to the downside, and then we start getting some funky stuff. Now, this one still has lots of room to go sideways or even decide to dump on us. We just don't know at the moment. As these symmetrical triangles develop further, all we can do is just, alter our lines just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. But it still makes a bear pennant, which could give us a lot more downside action. And that's just one thing to keep on your radar. Use that as you're trading or whatever you're doing in your strategy. Just be cautious. I mean, we are at a precipice. It's really hard to tell what direction this will take. And from what I'm seeing now, everything is still leaning down toward the downside, especially with that weekly bearish sentiment that we have on our indicators. So I would say we're not going to know anything until next week. And, it's really sad, the situation that we're in right now, because if all this stuff that we're going through with FTX and Alameda hadn't happened, we would be tagging along with the rest of the market, which has been moving to the upside after the CPI data was released. And it's just really a shame that we got the short end of the stick on this one. So there is a chance in the market, just fundamentally, that we could get that push to the upside and recover from this. But there's also, that chance, and the market is scared right now, waiting for this contagion to kind of reveal itself, just how deep this goes. And, that could be the catalyst that we need to drive us down to lower targets. So it's really up in the air right now. We just have to watch the price action and see what happens. But I will reinforce this again, we need to break above 19.5 to be bullish. And if that does not happen by Tuesday, I would brace yourself for some more downward action and plan accordingly. And I hope that this has been helpful for you. I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just trying to be realistic about this. I mean, there's a chance we can go down further, and we've got the fundamental stuff in the news and whatever is really going on out there that could push us down. But we still have a few things that are still going in our favor. So let's not forget that we are still in this falling channel. We have got to bounce from the bottom here. So the way that technical analysis works is that once we get that direction started, we still head that way until we don't. And so far, we haven't stopped doing that yet. So if we do get some more upward action, our first stop is going to be somewhere right around 20,000 that we might get rejected and, maybe come back down for a little bit for a retest and make up. But we're not even there to see that. Right now, we just got to break out of the 16,800, 16,900 area that we've been stuck in for the last seems like the last couple of days. We have just been going sideways on this, and that's got to stop. And when it does, I hope it's to the upside. But if it's not, let's be ready for it. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope it kind of soothes some nerves. I hope this gives you something that you can work with in your own strategy and not be blindsided by whatever happens then in the markets. And hopefully this has given you an idea for some things to look out for. But if we do, let's just go ahead and say this. If we fall below 16,335, break out of this, I would be looking for more downside action. We'd first be looking to stop around 15,743, and then after that, the lower targets that we mentioned. Until next time, my name is Lane, your crypto road dog. Just reminding you that you are still in crypto at the right time. This is the worst time to give up and get out. This is the best time to just gradually start coming in, and this will pay off. And just give it another 18 to 24 months, maybe even before that. This can be life-changing. Do not give up when you see all the bad things going on, and even if the floor just falls out of Bitcoin and we start plunging down toward 14 or 10,000, those are the chances to buy to make those life-changing gains. I'm telling you, when we go back up to 60,000, don't be kicking yourself for missing these opportunities that are opening up before us over these next few months. Until next time, be blessed, trade carefully, and remember, you got this, baby.
If you like what you see, well then please subscribe, eh? And if you like what we do, then smash that like button too. And if you like to drag your glow, leave a comment down below.
Cool.